whenever you go to Liberty University, you run into the most amazing leaders. One is a longtime friend, a regular guest on the Economic War Room, Major General Bob Dees. He's U.S. Army retired. He really built here as Vice President of Military Outreach at Liberty University. I think he's moved on from there, but he built it, and they have the Institute for Military Resilience here at Liberty. Welcome, General Dees, back to Economic War Room.
Good to be with you, Kevin. Yeah.
So give us an update. I mean, you did a lot of the strategic understanding and planning for our military for quite a while. What's going on in the world? It seems very tumultuous right now. What are you seeing?
Yeah. Well, do you have a week? No. Well, just water skiing around the world, if you will. Obviously, in Resilient Nations, I wrote about the challenges of appeasement on the domestic side and on the international side. And I think, frankly, in our nation, we're seeing the downsides of appeasement that's happening. Certainly, if you want to go on the domestic side, you look at the Great Society and how the Great Society ended up with the loss of black family and things like that. So these unintended consequences are playing out today in many ways.
Unintended, or maybe cultural Marxism.
Could be, that's right. I don't know if it was cultural Marxism back then. Probably, but I do know what it looks like now, and it is definitely, and it plays out on the streets of America and the crime problems and everything we see. So that's domestically. Now, internationally, appeasement, we understand the downfalls of appeasement, and peace through strength is the proper long-term policy. We've seen that in many of our great presidents, and we've seen the opposite in many of our weak presidents, and then in other hierarchies around the world.
Well,
Neville Chamberlain, obviously.
Weak president right now. I mean, yeah. and all credit to him, but he looks elderly. He's acting elderly. He was not even, they said, well, he's literally not enough there to stand trial, so we're not going to charge him with things. But that's playing out around the world. Where's America's position globally?
Yeah, well, Normandy was embarrassing at the 80th anniversary. With Dr. Ben Carson in the presidential campaign, I used to make the stump speech. I'd say, this man has handled more 2 a.m. calls in the morning, crises, life-death situations than anybody on the trail. Well, of our president today, I'm convinced he can't handle a 2 a.m. call of crisis. He can't even handle a 2 p.m. call. And we're seeing that in his public display, and there's a lot of backfill, as you know, among the administration and the liberal press that say, okay, well, he's really sharp as a tack. It just has stumble every now and then. Well, that's not true. So where do we stand? I think appeasement invites adventurism. We're seeing that. We're seeing that China, Russia, Iran, through their surrogates in particular. We've funded Iran to fund their surrogates. So
is Hamas a surrogate of Iran?
Of course. An interesting story. I don't know if we've talked about this before. In 2000 to 2002, I was commander of the U.S.-Israeli Combined Task Force for Missile Defense. I was in country one time, and the ambassador was out, and so I was sort of the stuckey, and they came and got me out of bed at night, the Israeli Special Operations guys. They took me down to the port of Eilat, which is on the north end of the Red Sea, and they had, in fact, taken down a ship. And it was a curious ship because it was based out of Iran, had an Iranian crew, and they laid out, they had the crew that they were interrogating, but laid out all the weapons. And when they laid out the weapon systems, they found it was just Katyusha rockets, normal stuff, conventional, but they were very high-tech shipping containers. These shipping containers, they would put the weapons inside, the ship would go through the Suez Canal into the Mediterranean off the coast of Gaza,